I read about this yesterday on one of the various anti-discussion echo chamber political subreddits that I'm subscribed to, and it made me think, why the fuck have I never heard this before? Nationalizing Amazon? I thought about it and it kind of makes perfect sense. Mostly to the collectivist eat the rich archetype that inhabits the part of my brain that thinks about how we can make the psychopath Olympics more fair to the people that are directly impacted by it. Naturally, because of this, I had to try and think about any problems with it using the libertarian freedom or death fuck the government archetype, because this collectivist dialogue I usually contemplate sits sloshingly atop the slippery slope that is the Marxist ideologue's opinion on the freedoms of the individual and the state, which I believe to be the most important consideration when it comes to discussing the future of not only America, but humanity. Just to get this out of the way, this is never going to happen unless there is some sort of armed populist revolt. Amazon is quite literally too big to fall, and corporations as big as Amazon practically own our government through campaign donations in exchange for favors, among other things of that oligarchic nature. So this is purely a thought experiment, but I mean, it's a really fun one nonetheless. To start off, has the United States ever even nationalized a corporation before? The US assumption of a controlling interest in General Motor Corp isn't the first time the government has nationalized a company or an industry. It has taken shares in banks, railways, steel mills, coal mines, and foreclosed homes. President Harry S. Truman tried to nationalize the steel industry in 1952 to avert the strike he claimed threatened the Korean War effort, but he was blocked by the Supreme Court. And in 2001, the airport security industry was nationalized under the TSA as a response to the September 11th terrorist attacks. During World War I, the government nationalized railroads, telegraph lines, and the Smith & Wesson Co. During World War II, it seized railroads again, coal mines, Midwest trucking operators, and many other companies, including briefly retailer Montgomery Ward. Most nationalizations were during wartime, but the 2008 financial crisis had generated more than a few examples. Okay, so clearly the US is capable of nationalizing private industry, but what's the case for nationalizing Amazon? Amazon is the biggest commerce entity in the world. It accounts for about half of every dollar spent online in the US, and it sells more than 500 million products worldwide. But Amazon is bigger than you think. Yeah, that's paradoxical, isn't it? It isn't simply an e-commerce company. It is a logistics company. It sells food. It manufactures robots and hardware. It's a movie studio. It's the largest provider of cloud infrastructure in the world. Bet you don't even know what the fuck that is unless you live in a basement like me, but it's super important. My point is, Amazon is huge. There are more than 100 million Amazon Prime members. That's about 40% of the total adult population in the US. The percentage of Prime households is surely more than that, as multiple adults share the same Prime account. In his annual letter to shareholders, Jeff Bezos revealed that Amazon shipped more than 5 billion items to Prime customers in 2017 alone. That's 1.4 million packages per day just to Prime members. Amazon is more valuable than all major brick and mortar stores combined. Just let that sink in. So why would we nationalize Amazon? Well, there are actually three major reasons. Firstly, Amazon's business model is only possible through co-opting state infrastructure of the Postal Service, which is paid for entirely by taxpayer dollars, so why isn't it a public marketplace? We, that means you, if you pay your taxes, fund the entire operational capability of the company. How does Jeff Bezos pay the American people back? Dodging taxes, of course, just like any other soulless billionaire exploiter would. This is the same dude that built an entire business around using government services that Americans pay for to make billions of dollars a day. Do you expect someone like that to give back in our society in a meaningful and fair way? Secondly, Amazon is an integral part of the US economy. It is the glue holding everything together while also being half of everything that's being held together simultaneously, and it's completely privately owned. Jeff Bezos has the power to single-handedly cripple our nation, and I don't think giving one man that amount of power is a thing we should be doing as a quote-unquote constitutional republic. It's really a shadow oligarchy. It is literally a national security risk for one company to have that much of an effect over our economy. But I mean, the person that owns this company is one of the oligarchs, so nothing's gonna change. Finally, Amazon is a shitty company that fucks over its workers and makes them work tirelessly in depraved conditions for minimum wage. If Amazon was nationalized, millions of workers would have access to cheaper insurance, healthcare, and any other benefits offered to government employees. We know this won't happen because it's socialism, and the American public has been tricked into thinking the government doing anything at all is fundamentally evil. But what if it did? Well, firstly, God Emperor Bezos would probably create a private army of genetically modified gorilla human hybrids and wage war against the American government, happen. But if that didn't happen, I think our country would benefit greatly. We'd make so much fucking money owning the largest global retailer that the average tax rate could probably go down tremendously without fiscal repercussion, even though the government is unlikely to do this because it loves siphoning money from its people. Also, it's not like we would be absorbing any crazy extra costs. The only extra costs would be the salaries paid to workers and server infrastructure to run the network. We already pay for the transportation of goods, which is what Amazon is. Just let Bezos have all the other aspects of Amazon that aren't related to the e-commerce website, and the result is a publicly owned digital marketplace where one man doesn't have the authoritarian power to fuck over smaller retailers or rival companies in the same space as one of his investments. You know, by barring them from using his website just because he says so, which is entirely possible, but you didn't think about the ramifications of that. But here's the thing, what gives our government the right to take away someone's company? I think it's an important distinction that has to be made. We can't just let government agencies go around nationalizing whatever fucking company they want, so there has to be a way to make it non-arbitrary, and it also has to be a democratic decision. If a company goes under, instead of bailing them out with our GTA Infinite money cheats, the government should vote to buy stocks in the bankrupted company. If a majority purchase is necessary, then voila, the company is now nationalized. This is just a much better form of a bailout because it actively punishes companies and empowers the general population. If a company does something fucked up or morally abhorrent, the public could boycott its use until the government buys it out and makes changes to its leadership. This would encourage companies to stop destroying our planet and, fucking over its workers and the consumer. But what about Amazon then? Amazon isn't going bankrupt, so should the government have no right to nationalize Amazon? Well, honestly and subjectively, I think Jeff Bezos is a criminal who exploits the American people and our country in the name of a greater profit margin. But just because I think that doesn't give me the right to say your company should be nationalized. Like, I'm not a Stalinist, for Christ's sakes. I think what does give me the right, or at least the opinion, to say that is the fact that America shouldn't be entirely dependent on a single corporation or any amount of corporations to survive. We're practically sucking on the teat of Mama Bezos, and it puts the American people as well as our freedom at risk. Bezos could theoretically hold the country hostage until some demand of his is met. However, Amazon doesn't really act maliciously, at least publicly, because we have no idea what's talked about behind closed doors between senators and Lord Bezos. And in reality, Amazon grew to be as big as it is through user preference. It isn't as if Amazon is some sort of forced monopoly. However, the only reason Amazon is able to do what it does, which is what made it what it is because the company is being carried on the back of the US Postal Service. I personally think Amazon should be nationalized because, I'm totally communist, right guys? And it would be extremely beneficial to the people of our country, but I can definitely understand why people would be against such a thing happening. It's too much of a slippery slope and gives the government, which according to literal mountains of evidence doesn't hold the interests of the American people in mind, way too much power. I guess the decision then is between giving a corporate authoritarian complete power, giving a collectivist government complete power, or doing what we do currently, which is making the corporate authoritarians pretend that they are playing by the rules imposed upon them by the American people, even though they are the ones making the rules. Either way, nobody knows what's really going on, and if you think politics actually matters and isn't just a giant scripted theater drama, you are very, very mistaken. Wake up, take the green pill, or the purple one, or the magenta one. I bet that one tastes pretty good. I don't know, just take whatever the fuck you want. I don't care, it doesn't matter, life's not real, ha ha ha.